Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there and having yourselves a fantastic start to your day and a great week out there so far. Appreciate y'all folks tuning in this morning as we try to figure out what's going to happen weather-wise for your Thursday. There's a couple features to speak on. A lot of crazy activity ongoing in Florida this morning. We have high wind warnings on the east coast of Florida, which is a little bit unusual. We'll speak on that and why here in a second. We have moisture that continues to move into areas of the Rockies. I don't think it'll be quite as active today for like California, but definitely some moisture that will continue to move in. A little bit of a system that could affect areas of the northern portion of the lower 48, but most of the action will stay up in Canada. But this system will continue to swing in and we'll try to meet with our coastal low down here. So a couple things going on, but stay tuned for the second half of the video. We'll speak on some things coming up. Some interesting times are coming up, guys. You know, we've been mentioning how slow it's been. I definitely think it's going to get much more active. Multiple topics are going to emerge. It's going to be some active times as far as making videos coming up. Thanksgiving week, we know that a lot of people travel on Thanksgiving week, obviously. And, you know, I really am thinking it'll crank up Monday into Tuesday. I mean, even as early as Sunday. Now we have a risk of severe weather. The Storm Prediction Center has dropped a slight risk at day 4 and day 5. We'll give you some updated information on that. We got the cold air that's going to follow in behind it. It's going to lead to a pretty chilly, if not downright cold Thanksgiving. And what kind of system is this same system that's going to bring severe weather potentially going to bring for the rest of the country? A lot of rain, wind, snow for some areas, lake effect snow. And then what's even more interesting to me is what comes after Thanksgiving. The models are teasing on a lot of cold air dropping down, maybe some snow a little bit further south. I'm not talking about all the way down to Mississippi or Alabama, but we got some things to figure out for the future. It looks like it's going to end pretty active for November. If you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like. If you guys got anything I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. So what's going on out there right now? We have a lot of convection just popping off the east coast of Florida, kind of between Miami and the Bahamas. A lot of action ongoing. Moisture's all over the place, but we have a pretty nasty complex of storms just off the coast of Florida, kind of off the coast of Miami region. We'll take a look at the radar here in a second and look at that. The Northeast pretty quiet. But, you know, this is going to be probably a bigger story here in the coming days. But I think that the worst as far as impacting land is happening kind of right now into the next day or so, as it's looking like this is going to really kind of move well off the coast of the Northeast, maybe even further, like over here, to not really affect folks in New England like maybe we were thinking a couple days ago. But we still got a fetch of moisture moving into the Rockies. This will kind of dwindle away throughout the day today, but we are dealing with some moisture in northern Utah, Colorado, and southern Wyoming throughout the day today. And we will continue to deal just with some on and off downpours that can move into the California coastline. So that's what's going on right now. This portion of the country is pretty quiet. So yeah, unfortunately, my radar that I typically show kind of between the water vapor loop and the Storm Prediction Center, it's not working for me this morning. I've had some computer issues, which is why I'm speaking a million miles an hour this morning. I'm really behind. But you know, I'm still going to get you guys some good information, but I will show you some radars here in a second from different areas. But we're going to start off from the Storm Prediction Center. It's pretty quiet, continues to be quiet. This could change in the next few days into this weekend, but just a general risk of thunderstorms in Florida, almost the entire peninsula of Florida, all the way up into the low country of South Carolina, all the way up to Charleston. So we'll watch for a little bit of thunderstorm activity later today. Could get some thunderstorms in Arizona. And some of this convection that makes its way into California could be in the form of some storm action. Other than that, no big severe weather expected. Still have that risk of flooding in the eastern sections of Florida. So there's a slight risk, at least a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being met within 25 miles of any given location. So we'll continue to watch out for flooding. And then we look at the watches and warnings, guys. A lot of wind. We have wind advisories in the Dakotas, southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, the Great Lakes region. So windy conditions, high wind warnings up for areas of Wyoming, some dense fog down here in the gray counties. Winter weather advisories up here for the northern Rockies. And if you look very closely here, and it's going to be very hard to see, but we have high wind warnings for the immediate eastern coastline of Florida. This is not common. And we'll zoom into this region. We're already dealing with gusty winds out there right now. We have wind advisories and high wind warnings and flash and flood watches up for this region. Man, we're talking about wind gusts as high as 60 miles per hour. It's going to be like a tropical storm is making landfall. And here it is. You look at the HRRR model, and I'm going to try to pull up radar scope up here and see if it comes up for Miami. And here it is. Look at this complex of storms off the coast of Miami. And let's get this thing in motion here. Might have to move my face here really quick. And here we go. I mean, this is a gnarly complex of storms that just went over, what is that? Bimini, I think is what it's called. This area of islands right here, north and south Bimini. It just went over this region. You guys correct my punctuation. I actually went over it and looked up a video how to pronounce it, and I still feel like I'm doing it wrong. But this just went over this area, and it could be heading to the northern portion of the Bahamas up here. But this it looks like a damaging complex of storms. So take this serious if you're viewing from the Bahamas. Man, this is nasty area of storms. So we'll get this back off your screen. We'll keep this going here. And I think we're going to deal with some shower and even some storm activity a little bit later in the low country of South Carolina, maybe the coastal regions of Georgia, some stormy conditions, just really anywhere in Florida as possible, especially central and north central Florida. Around the Gainesville area, could be as far south as Orlando, pushing into Tampa Bay. And these could be stationary downpours, really raining cats and dogs out here in this portion right here of Florida. So definitely be aware of this. Some beneficial rains could fall around the Tampa Bay area, which really needs the rains. Could get some more rain in the east coast of Florida too. But this continues into the overnight hours into tomorrow morning, and then we're starting to get a push of moisture into the Carolina, Georgia coastline. And then we have from this other energy up here, some showers that are becoming a lot more widespread in areas of the mid-south and the deep south, especially northern Mississippi, western Tennessee, areas of western Kentucky, southern Indiana. But man, these winds today, guys, I mean, we're talking about getting into this morning, 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts, very strong winds in the Bahamas. And this continues. It could get even worse later on. This is this afternoon, just kind of the Fort Lauderdale area. I mean, 40, 50 mile per hour wind gust off the HRRR model. And the National Weather Service does mention 60 mile per hour wind gust. So if you're viewing, when you're on the east coast of Florida, especially further south, man, strong. I mean, it's going to be like a tropical storm's hitting you guys today. Strong winds, very, very strong winds. I mean, throughout the day, throughout the evening, overnight hours, waking up tomorrow morning, you're still dealing with gusty winds. So, be prepared for this. Don't let this catch you off guard. But, high wind warnings are up. This is not very common for Florida. It really isn't. Typically, high wind warnings are associated with like things that you see like in the mountains or out west. But anyways, more rain's expected today. I would argue that they need to bump up these totals right here in this section of Florida. I mean, 1 to 2 inches of rain could definitely fall, but they're going for an additional 1 to as much as 3 inches of rain along the eastern counties of Florida here. So expect more rainfall. Could get a half an inch of rain along the Georgia coastline, low country. A little bit of rain could get tossed back into southern areas of Alabama. The Northeast, it's rather quiet today. There isn't a whole lot going on this morning, getting into this afternoon, getting into this evening, getting into overnight. Some showers will begin to enter the picture and, kind of greet you guys for your Friday morning if you live in Buffalo, down to Cleveland, central Ohio, really anywhere in Ohio. And then you keep going deeper into your Friday, and I think that you could have definitely some showers and kind of a rainy day for your Friday if you were to keep this going, especially moving in from the west to the east. I think by the time we get into Friday afternoon, we're dealing with a pretty stout area of rain moving in all the way from eastern Kentucky all the way up into Canada. So definitely a rainy Friday expected, but today's not Friday, so we won't focus too much on that right now. South Central, pretty quiet too. I mean, it's been pretty quiet, but unfortunately, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it looks like things are going to change for you folks as we get into the latter part of this coming weekend. But it's a quiet day today. Some showers could develop in the Boot Heel, Missouri, northeast Arkansas, but it looks like that becomes more widespread as you're getting into tomorrow. Today, though, it's pretty quiet. Not really much in the way of moisture. Nothing really going on out here. North central U.S., area of snow, is likely going to continue to move into the northwest portion of North Dakota. This could drop an inch or two of snow, but I think most of this will become more up into Canada as we get into this afternoon hours. Can't rule out a little bit of light snow for extreme northern Minnesota. And then we could get some shower activity, maybe some snow shower activity in the northeast corner of Minnesota, shower activity for the UP of Michigan. But outside of that, not a very active day at all. Showers become more widespread in eastern and southeastern Michigan later today. A little bit of cold air wraps in behind it. And tomorrow morning, we could be dealing with a little bit of lake effect energy coming off Lake Superior in the eastern UP in the form of maybe some snow showers. Rest of that is quiet. Enjoy it. I think we're going to get much more active. Now, out west, you're waking up to a lot of rain in kind of northern and really northeast sections of Nevada. Basically the entire central and northern half of Utah. A lot of moisture, higher elevation snow you're dealing with this morning. This will continue to move from west to east. Some snow could fall in these higher elevations of southern Wyoming. And then, of course, the Rockies of Colorado could pick up, a good bit of snow in these higher elevations. This will fall in the form of rain, most likely with some gusty conditions, windy conditions in southeast Wyoming. And this will continue to chug on off and then kind of dissipate later this evening. But, down here in California, you're going to get rounds of moisture for sure. We stop here, this is around 1 or 2 o'clock this afternoon. You're getting some rain showers, maybe a little bit of storm action moving into San Francisco. You typically don't get really storms in San Francisco, but you get just away from San Francisco, maybe some claps and thunder, some lightning is possible, but some rounds of showers could make their way through. And then we could get some storm action. An area of rain in southern Arizona is possible throughout the afternoon, evening hours. This might not really make it up to Phoenix, but certainly possible down here. There's that snow that could add up in these higher elevations of southern Wyoming and the Rockies of Colorado, and then the higher elevations of Utah right here. So a little bit of snow, maybe a half an inch. I said 1 to 2 inches for North Dakota, but definitely probably not that much. Maybe half inch to an inch at most up here. So temperatures today, very, very warm, well above average. I mean, the temperature is probably going to drop later this evening as a cold front with this system up in Canada will sweep through with a trailing cold front. But today, temperatures were warm all the way up into the 60s, all the way up to the bordering Lake Superior. Okay, 60s Wisconsin, Midwest 60s, maybe even some 70s. Eastern U.S. 60s and 70s. I mean, even the Northeast starting to warm up where you guys have been quite chilly, 40s and 50s for highs. And, we look out west, guys, and it's starting to get colder again for the northern Rockies. Nothing you guys can't handle as a cold front starts to move through. Nebraska will be a weird state today where one half of the state will be in the 60s and 70s, the other half just in the 40s as a cold front moves through. But the central high plains, somebody might hit 80 degrees a day in this region. Everybody else out west, though, is, a little bit cool, but, nothing too crazy one way or the other. So, sorry I zoomed through the daily forecast very quickly. Like I said, I'm a little bit biting the dust on time right now. So quick update on the tropics. This still has a 50% chance to develop. This is going to bring a lot of flooding issues for Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, southern sections of the Bahamas, Cuba, especially eastern Cuba. But as far as this developing to a named storm, right now it's pretty low. And then it's still got a 10% chance for this non-tropical area of low pressure to form and to, some kind of system. But for right now, this is looking like it's just a strong, vigorous coastal system. But I can tell you, this looks pretty impressive down here in the Caribbean. It does. You got some big-time convection popping off here right in the middle of the Caribbean. You're probably getting some heavy rain moving into the Bahamas already. So we'll see if this can pull, some tricks today. It happens sometimes, and but I can tell you this convection is looking pretty impressive for the Caribbean. But for now, this is still just at a 50% chance to develop into a depression or named storm. Now, talking about what we kind of went over last night, the chances of below average temperatures are getting higher. Okay, so this is the 21st through the 25th, the temperature outlook. In the blue, you have a chance of below average temperatures. You go as far out as the 8 to 14 day outlook. It starts to increase further east. So this is the 23rd, Thanksgiving, through the 29th, through the weekend after Thanksgiving to early, into the last couple days of November. Below average temperatures, confidence is increasing that it's going to be there. The west, warm, okay? And you look at the temperature anomalies, we'll start it off. We started off Wednesday morning of next week, the 22nd. Below average temperatures already taken over the central portion of the country, and then quickly replaces the above average temperatures with those below average temperatures as we move into Thanksgiving Day. So this is the GFS ensemble for Thanksgiving Day. Below average temperatures dominating everywhere from the northern Rockies, northern plains, all the way to the eastern seaboard, all the way down to Florida. Below average temperatures. Now you're asking, Mitch, what does that mean? How cold are we going to get? I see these blues. Well, we need to figure that out. But for some areas in the south, that could just mean highs in the 50s, lows in the 30s. Nothing, ground busting or anything like that, but chillier conditions. And I would really watch after Thanksgiving for much colder air. In fact, you keep this going, and it really wants to drop a hammer down into the central portion of the country. Well, we need to fine tune that. There's still some questions. As far as storm systems, guys, here it comes. And this is the GFS. This is for Sunday morning. GFS showing that system developing. We got just rain over the middle portion of the country. The Mississippi Valley. This is getting into Monday. We got rain overspreading the Ohio Valley. All right. And you stop it here. Okay. Well, let's go on and move it to Tuesday morning. You got a low pressure just got done riding right over the Mississippi Valley, Mississippi River. Enough cold air on top for some of this to be snow in the upper Midwest. This is all rain down here, but the placement of this low pressure screams some kind of moist sector getting pulled up into the south central and deep south states. And this is what we call a cutting system. It cuts across a portion of the country, and you got a lot of cold air. You see these blue bars running behind this. This tells us that you're about to get a lot of cold air. It's about to pull in behind this. All right, but on the northern side of this low, you could have some heavy snow up here in the UP and Michigan, the Great Lakes region. The front part of the storm, where you still have cold air lingering around the northeast, a front-end thumping of some sort of winter weather. Is it going to be snow, sleet, freezing rain, both? Wintry mess. Inland, it's very possible. The latest GFS says, hey, even southern New England, Boston, Wednesday morning, Thanksgiving Eve morning, guys, you get some snow. But then it quickly, and not to forget our folks in the southeast, this is all rain down here. But then you quickly could switch to rain. But man, the latest GFS stays this system as a cold storm. It really does, and jumps and drops some appreciable winter weather into areas of New England, the Northeast. It really does. But man, when you see that 540 line digging this far south, that means you got some real big time cold air that's unleashing down into some portion of the country. In this case, a large portion of the country. And then the Great Lakes snow machine gets kicked up for Thanksgiving. So if you live in those snow belts of the Great Lakes, you could get snow for Thanksgiving. You really could. I mentioned that in last night's video. And then what happens after this, guys? The GFS and the European now keep showing some sort of system, and like Kansas, northern Oklahoma, Missouri. This is when the cold air really oozes in as we get into next weekend. And this is another time frame we need to watch, and we don't have the time to get deep into this right now. But, you look at the European, that system heads on off for this weekend, and then here comes the European. European has this low pressure a little bit further south. It kind of misses connecting with this over the U.S., but, it shows higher elevation ice for the higher elevations of Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia. Okay, this moves in, and it's a warmer system. It is. It's a little bit different, but the GFS and the Euro is kind of coming together. Regardless, I think this will be a big winter storm for areas in Canada. Where in Canada? Not sure. Southern Ontario, further north, what is it going to be? It's a big question. Tuesday afternoon, shows that front-end thumping of winter weather, but it's much warmer. It does not bring snow all the way down to southern New England like the GFS does. It's just a wind-driven rain and cold air trying to catch up with this moisture. And this is when the Great Lakes snow machine kicks off on the Euro too. And it kicks off earlier. It's a faster system just in general. So you're already getting snow falling Thanksgiving Eve evening, if you will. And then it continues into Thanksgiving. And this would just be, all rain event. But with the placement of this low pressure, it could introduce severe weather for the deep south. And I'll tell you exactly what that means. And with a strengthening storm system, you're going to have a strengthening mid-level jet, which means winds several thousand feet up in the air are going to be whipping like crazy. But man, there is a very cold air mass that comes in behind this system. How far south is it digging? And then it almost gets reinforced right here. And then this is when we get into next weekend. We have to watch another system in the middle of the country. Okay, but speaking of that jet, and we're kind of talking about the severe weather here, here it is. There's that big jet max right down here. And I mean, it starts off even Sunday. I mean, you have a lot of kinetic energy down here in Texas with a developing low pressure. So this jet max with this kind of this exit region of this mid-level jet right here, which you see in the vibrant purples and reds right here. These are winds, you know, pushing 70 to 80 knots in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. It's very, you know, it's winds like at interstate speed, several thousand feet up in the air. Not at the surface, but way, way up in the air, okay? It's a little bit too soon to try to figure out where a low-level jet's going to be. Those are winds about a mile above our heads, okay? But you keep this going, and this continues to just kind of develop and move over areas of the south, and then you have just a developing low pressure, and you're going to have a lot of kinetic energy for this system to work with, okay? Kinetic energy, think of that as the wind energy associated with a severe weather threat. So low pressure right into here, and yeah. And then I'm thinking we're going to have a big wind event sometime early to midway next week across the Ohio Valley, the Mid-South. And yeah, just could be a lot of winds with this system. You mix in the kinetic environment with the thermodynamic environment. And right now, we're not going to look at Cape. We'll look at the dew points. And look at this moist area that builds up into Oklahoma. Dew points reaching into the 60s into eastern Texas. And then it does it one better as we're getting into Monday. Okay, and you start to get dew points into the mid-60s in the Mississippi, in areas of southern Louisiana. What kind of lift is there going to be? Support for severe storms. We got some things to figure out as far as that. Okay, but what I'm saying is you got moist air down here in the deep south for severe weather to work with, along with a kinetic environment that supports. And it takes two to tango for it to be a significant severe weather event. And they're starting to tango a little bit out there. So we got to figure this out. And sure enough, the Storm Prediction Center for day 4, which is this coming Sunday, has a 15% risk. Guys, that means there's a slight risk at day 4. Level 2 out of 5 risk already at day 4 for Oklahoma and North Texas. This could broaden, it could shrink, it could go away. It could grow larger. But right now, this includes Dallas up to Oklahoma City, up to Tulsa, and everybody in between. Okay, and then you go to day 5, and of course, this shifts further east and southeast. You know, watch out, even Shreveport, Alexandria, the Jackson, all the way into almost Montgomery, Alabama. There's the same thing, level 2 out of 5 risk for Monday of next week. Okay, so how much rain? This is the rain for the first system this weekend, and I'm going to have to speed this up very fast. I'm really running low on time. But 1 to 2, 3 inches of rain could fall. A lot of beneficial rains from this system next week. Okay, it's going to be impactful, but a lot of beneficial rains could fall. So this is rain between now and this time next week, next Thursday morning. Okay, what about snow? Okay, first system, here comes the system behind it. Look at the lake effect snow that begins to add up right off the shorelines of these lakes. Several inches of snow off Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Erie, and Ontario. Okay, so yeah, a lot coming up, guys. I managed to do that in less than 25 minutes. You guys have an awesome day. I'll get you another video very soon, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow night, maybe sometime coming up. But God bless all y'all. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.